So first of all, we'd like to pay my respect to the lecturer. My name is Leanghuy. Today I'm going to do the final presentation about chapter 3, which is about cooperation, globalization. So move to my content. So this is my content. So I'm going to talk about the introduction at first, and then I'm going to talk about the logic of power. So I'm going to talk about the dominant capital corporate agency, and next I'm going to talk about transnational or liberalism, and the last one I'm going to conclude this article. So corporate globalization include two manifestations of sovereignty. So the first manifestation, it is articulated in terms and the key of international relation as a neo-Darwinian struggle between identity-based community of faith, and it also articulated most forcefully in the friend and enemy distinction, where mere potential for conflict is enough to activate war between the rival. And the global hegemony of capital is possible precisely since capitalism is a world system which incorporates and reproduces in itself a plurality of political forms. The second manifestation of sovereignty involved in the geocentric logic of corporate globalization and the intensification of capitalist power through a transnational state forms such as corporation or non-legitimate power, yet their power is articulated in through complex structure of a global economic governance, which are confer legitimacy on capital as the real subject of globality. Capitalist sovereignty is revealed most obviously in corporate impunity of private security contractor whose exceptional legal status and political function are articulated via discourse of security, race, expertise based on political authority linked to experience or engagement, and a discourse of a market rationally based on the efficiency of private firm, and also a discourse of a required authority predicated on the incorporation of a governmental function. Capitalist sovereignty is also revealed in its position to constituent power as the popular ground of a political freedom. The second task is to explore differential accumulation as an institutional precondition for capitalist sovereignty. Second is about the logic of power. So according to Radland, the logic of corporate power lies in the capacity of the capitalist to block the industrial process at the same at some one or more point. So his strategy is mostly again to other business interests. At the end, his strategy is accomplished by the help of some form of pecuniary coercion. And the status of corporate power in global economy create question about the prerogative, right? And the legal accountability of capital. Yeah, the logic is poorly understand, which is according to back in 2002. So the myths of the corporate legal personhood exists to protect those who own and run large corporations from legal liability, and corporate social organization is the most effective which means a device for accumulating capital and for advancing the range and complexity of human economic activities through extended system of logistic, extraction, and financial control. And since 19th century, the corporation in U.S. has acquired the legal of personhood as the norm to international business law. And the corporation privilege granted to two parts, such as people and the government. And the corporation in U.S. first acquired political power by actively defining the structure and substance of American society as the ontological ground of the self-valorization of capital. The depression of an 1890s in the U.S. history is known as the Progressive Era. So a Progressive Era is effectively reduced in top inter-capitalist competition and the dependence of capital on skilled labor, which is according to Sarah 2009. The corporate globalization implies the declining coherence of fragmenting nation as capital degrade in the infrastructural basis of industrial society in the ways of return to colors America and in European workers to compete with global China in Asia and Latin America. Let me move to the another part, which is about the dominant capital and corporate agency. So dominant capital thrive only by limiting competition and restricting the industrial activity of society for its own gain through merger and acquisition, which generate the power to increase earning, set market prices, and reduce risk. Capitalist power doesn't base simply on a liability of a corporation to increase and maintain profit rate relative to their rival, but they also on capacity of the dominant capitalist as the power block to restrict average rate of return in the wider economy and prevent effective government protection of public enterprise. The capital relation is the determining factor in differential accumulation because capital itself is power. The aim of corporate capitalism is to control over the production through complex global network of extraction, production, and supply in cooperation with other transnational concerns, which generate similarly above average rate of profit. The mechanic structure of corporate capitalism creates order by projecting the social power of capital onto an infinite horizon until it acquires a level of a facility that ensure its own dynamic self-reproduction as further form of a power render, quantifiable and open to augmentation by harnessing the creative and innovative capacity of human community or through the institutionalization of permanent and unpayable indebtedness. And it is also necessary to examine closely the interests of the various contenders for control, the information that available to them, the condition that under which each may enter the dominant correlation and the consequence for corporate behavior that follow from the particular composition of the coalition in the order to explain corporate agency. And corporate agency is a characteristic feature of all capitalist economy, but the hegemonic core of Anglo-American financial capital is constituted in constellation of interest. Next, I'm going to talk about the transnational neoliberalism. So, three approaches have been developed in international political economy to explain the occurrence of neoliberalism economy, namely state power relation theory and the theory of the transnational capitalist class and the theory of privatized authority. So neoliberalism must properly be understood as a hegemonic or hegemonic class project of the transnational right and at reasserting capitalist sovereignty through the consolidation of a complete hegemony. The term neoliberalism has its origin in economic debate in 1930 in the US, Germany, and Britain between right-wing liberal keen to reinvigorate classical economic theory. The ownership society of neoliberalism is legitimated via the ideology of free trade. Yet the fiction of a free trade between liberal democracy is really invoked to close possibility for the actualization of free trade and quality, according to Lin 2019 to 2009. Sorry. So neoliberalism has been directly responsible for restoration of asymmetric relation of power between core and peripheral economy. Transnational neoliberalism is supported by corporate state elite in the West as means for sustaining Anglo-American power, yet result in a contradictory outcome. The political function of neoliberalism is to replace state democratic capitalism, co-opting popular classes and labor as subordinate role within the transnational history law, leading to a precarious hegemonic constellation of embedded neoliberalism. Cosmopolitan and internationalists who criticize the unaccountability of existing form of global governance fail to note that the political origin of the state form of transnational capital lie not in internationalism, but in the need for transnational cooperation to augment extractive, productive, and distributive operation, necessitating new form of policy coordination where state converge voluntarily towards similar structure of any administration and governance. And at the end, I'm going to conclude. So the modern corporation and sovereign power are grounded in legally sanctioned immunity from law, which renders attempt to criticism of regulation by public authority irrelevant. Corporation illegal creation of state which acquire power over those that, but the evolution of corporate state legal immunity, the victim of which is the public, is best conceptualized as the doubling or conjoining, by means of which the political unaccountability of the state is extended to the legal and organizational from the form of the modern capitalist enterprise. Before proceeding to this analyze, the first step is to analyze and the structural and ideological link between the transnational capitalist class and the transnational capitalist state, examining the formal and informal network of power that strain, grasp, and override the interests of workers in national economy. So my presentation continuing. So I would like to say thank you to the lecturer for the whole term that you have been explain me a lot and explain other students as well a lot and trying hard to teach us even though there's the internet connection problem, but I hope that I have chance to attend your class next term. Thank you, and then thank you teacher so much and thank you and wish you a good luck. Thank you.